Hi there, this is my channel, Yaru Walks. In the year 2024, I will embark on an epic walking journey across the United States. I plan to hike 8,000 miles and to cross the US 3 times, via the Appalachian Trail, Pacific Crest Trail, and Continental Divide Trail. In the hiking world, this is known as a calendar year Triple Crown and has been completed by only a handful of hikers in history. The calendar year Triple Crown has traditionally been completed by jumping within or between the trails throughout the year, primarily to avoid snow, but also to avoid other seasonal hazards such as floods, extreme desert heat, and wildfires. For my attempt, I'm trying to hike each trail on a continuous, unbroken, end-to-end footpath, and to accomplish this, I must hike across all 4 seasons. I will be posting weekly updates along the way, so you can join me for the journey. Wish me luck.
So I just took a 1 1/3 day zero in Pinedale, staying with Trail Angels Irish and Rerun. Big shout out to them for picking me up yesterday, or I guess it was 2 days ago. I did a 40-mile push up the CDT and then off to a trailhead that comes into Pinedale. And then I spent the following day zeroing all day in town. And then this morning I got some snowshoes and another set of winter pants. So I am making my way into Pinedale now. So to recap, let's recap starting 2 days ago. I saw the forecast that all the snow was coming in, so I decided to get off trail and into Pinedale. I took a zero in Pinedale. I got a few gear items that I needed, but not everything. And then after taking the zero, I headed back up to the top of the winds, basically around 11 a.m. this morning, I think. And then I hiked approximately 7 miles out into the winds, the Wind River Range. And then I ultimately decided to turn back. Long story short, this snow came sooner than I had expected. My plan was, I was hoping to be hiking fast enough to make it through the Wind River Range before snow hit, and then to adopt my full winter gear kit. And instead I have about half of my winter items right now. And so anyway, I figured I'd give it a try today, and ultimately I just ended up getting spooked. It was relatively slow progress. It's a long distance to travel, and I just feel like I don't quite have enough food in my bag, and I don't have other essential items for the cold temperatures that are forecasted for today and the next couple of days. It's I don't know what the temperature is up here, but it's something been like, 20 degrees Fahrenheit or less kind of today. And it's weird walking through snow that's like a foot deep and seeing it freeze onto your shoes. Anyway, so my backup plan is just to backtrack down this road. It's not backtracking, but just to kind of alternate down this road and hike a lower elevation route around. And then depending upon what gear I can get over the next 24 hours, one thing I really want to have is an efficient stove that could be used for boiling snow for water, and just to de-thaw stuff when it freezes, which I'm not currently carrying. Then quite possibly I might hike my way back up into the winds a little further down the trail. But for now, I just need to, get down and off the mountain, figure out what route I want to hike ahead, and definitely at least go with a lower elevation route for a little bit. I'm sitting down, taking a break. I basically have half of a winter kit jammed in my bag that's a 3-season bag. It's made for spring, summer, fall. But winter is at least here for 1 week right now. These conditions really are winter conditions and not fall conditions. I think it'll go back to being fall in about a week, but I'm not sure. I'm also dealing with just very minor flu symptoms. It's interesting walking down the road today. I can monitor my heart rate, and I know that if I'm walking on a flat road in these kind of temperatures, moving at about 2.3 miles per hour, my typical heart rate would be around 90 to 95 beats per minute. And instead, my heart rate's at around 115, which is fine. I can hike comfortably right at 115. But if I were sicker, my heart rate would be even higher. So fortunately, I'm just only mildly sick, and my baseline heart rate when walking at 2.2 miles per hour is now just elevated to like 115, which is totally manageable. Yeah, only certain people will find those details interesting, but I share what I find interesting. I am back hiking today. I think the timeline will be confusing. Basically, I just took, I think it was 5 full days off trail. I'll jump back in the timeline to explain. So, I think, the last day I was out here, I was hiking, and then I'm kind of addressing it as I'm walking down the road, but how my heart rate is at like 110 beats per minute while I'm walking a flat road. And that's elevated for normal, but it's at least doable. So by that evening, my heart rate was at around 140 beats per minute while walking moderately uphill at that point, which is about as high as it can go. That would be like, I think, almost like a jogging pace. And so I barely even made it like 21, 22 miles that day. And around mile 18, I kind of crawled under a bridge and just lied down and took a nap at like 7 p.m. It was 22 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm just like lying on the sand on a little thin piece of Tyvek. And, get up, keep moving. And just, my whole body was just, I honestly don't even know how I was still moving at that point. So anyway, the following day, I took a 0-mile day in Landers, Wyoming, thinking like maybe this will pass after 1 day or 2 days. And then I realized like, oh, this is like, I'm in for the long haul here. So then I went to Colorado, where I live, and took a 5-day, what ended up being 5 days of zeros in total, including that first day in Landers. And each day for the first 3 or 4 days, it just got worse and worse and worse. And then probably on day 4, I started really feeling like the fever was gone. I'm still sick, although the peak sickness is done. I'm on the back end, the recovery end, but all of the symptoms really felt like, for me, what I experienced when I had COVID, which I've had a couple of times. Though I haven't taken a test. Maybe I will when I get to Rollins. I'm just curious to see if it was COVID. But anyway, like, there have been 3 times this year that I have, like, not like I wanted to quit, but it was just, if it remains this hard, I will have to quit. This is not a matter of choice. The first time was when I got Giardia in Pennsylvania on the Appalachian Trail. The second time was when I got norovirus near Dunsmuir in Northern California on the Pacific Crest Trail. The third time was on my alternate around the southern half of the Wind River Range on these roads back here, where I caught the flu and what I suspect was COVID. So anyway, it's just interesting to see how sickness can influence your kind of psychology on trail, such that your mind would tell yourself like you're gonna have to quit, or this is too hard. That's been a clear pattern. So I don't know if you're ever hiking on trail and then you wake up and you have no energy and it feels like you'll have to quit or something. There's a good chance you've come down with one of the three of those things, which are the most common sicknesses on trail: Giardia, noro, and the flu. So anyway, I'm still in the low energy phase of the flu, but I'm not in the actively sick phase. So my heart rate is around 110 right now, which is stable and good while walking. So my plan is, just to kind of take it easy today, and then see if I can increase the mileage tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't really matter. There's not like, it's not really a matter of willpower. It's a matter of like, what can my body do? So I guess I'll wait and see. But anyway, the result of all that was that I got knocked off trail for 5 days. And then I would say the 2 days leading up to getting off trail, I only did 20 miles each day. And today I think I might do 20 miles today. So each of those are like not full days. So I consider those consequences as well of the flu. And then if you consider that the day before that I took a 0 for the snow day, all of that has severely set me back from where I would like to be. And then kind of more bad news is that in southern Colorado, there is what looks like one of the largest snowstorms in the last century forecasted. I don't know that it's the biggest in the last century, but like, let me quote these snow totals they're forecasting. So along the Front Range, which is the outer edge of the Rockies, on the eastern side, so the East Coast side on the outer edge of the Rockies, which is what in Colorado is called the Front Range. All the Front Range towns on the prairie are having forecasted around 15 to 42 inches of snow. So Trinidad in southern Colorado down near the New Mexico border has 40 inches of snow forecasted, which is over 3 feet, which is over 1 meter if you're a European. And then you have to consider that if you come west into the mountains from the Front Range, your elevation increases from 5,000 to 10,000 to 12 to 14,000. Your double elevation, colder temperatures, and always more snow. You can almost double the snowfall totals for the mountains. So I'm fascinated to see how this storm actually materializes, because it could be dropping like 3 to 6 feet of snow in like one day in the Rockies. And then, so over the week that I was sick, it's been snowing every day in Colorado as well. And it probably just dropped a couple of feet of snow in the mountains already. So my spider sense is we're looking at one of the heaviest snowfalls in the history of Colorado already this early into what is not even winter, it's fall. Keeps getting colder and colder out here. I woke up this morning and my sleeping bag had a layer of ice on it. Alrighty, I am crossing in about 15 seconds here, Highway 20. You can see back off to my left is just the very end of the Wind River Range. Those are, I think, the last 40 miles or so of the range southbound are foothills. But the CDT route, official route, is maybe like 6 miles up that way and then just keeps on chugging. Where I'm crossing Highway 20 at is like, I think like 6 to 8 miles south of the actual CDT crossing. All right, I am about to reconnect my footsteps with the CDT in something like 2 miles. Just a beautiful scene behind me. Let me change the colors. There you go. The sun setting off in the prairie. Back on trail. Dry, wet. I put on this bivy bag, which is like a rain jacket for the sleeping bag, and then the only part that got wet last night was inside the bivy bag. But then I saw this little water seep just shooting right out of the ground. What are the odds of that in the middle of nowhere? I mean, look, the middle of nowhere. And I think this is true. No, I don't think this is true. I know this is true. Southern Wyoming is the most remote place anywhere I've been in all of the United States this year, which I think is interesting to dissect briefly. There's remoteness where you're up in the mountains and it's 20 to 30 miles east or west out to the nearest town. And then there's remoteness where there's no town for 100 miles in any direction. And like somewhere on this hike between Pinedale and Rollins is where I hit that point. Like I've seen 3 cars on this road today, and the cars that are out here carry like gasoline jugs on the back of the vehicle in case they run out of gas. The nearest town is like Rollins, which is like 70 miles ahead. Landers is maybe 150 miles off in that direction. Pinedale is probably, I don't know, I'm just guessing, like 80 or 90 or 100 miles behind me now. And then I don't know of, like, my resupply towns are Pinedale, Landers. There's like a place with a post office back here, but they're closed for the season, so they don't count, and it's not a real town. And then Rollins. So maybe there's some town I'm not aware of over there, which maybe would have been helpful for this video to have looked at that before. Let me pause and just look. All right, so I looked, and there is a town called Rock Springs, but it's farther away than Rollins is, so it doesn't count. So, you know, I think the most geographically isolated spot was somewhere like maybe a day back, where I was really at the midway point between Landers, Pinedale, and Rollins. And then people might say, well, there are these little whistle stop towns with post offices or places you can mail packages. They're all closed this time of year. They're not open. So I really am on these ultra long walks now through the desert in the crazy cold and you see maybe 3 people a day by car. And so, I mean, I have never been this geographically far from the nearest town anywhere on the hike this entire year, not even in the Bob Marshall. Because even in the Bob, you could bail out at some point on hiking trails, 50 miles to get to the nearest town. Out here, I guess the nice part is you have roads, so if you got in trouble, people could get into you. But it is a weird feeling. I wasn't really mentally prepared for this. It's a weird feeling hiking something like 150 to 180 miles from Pinedale down to Rollins this time of year, where you could have snowstorms roll in. Look at the weather for the next week. Okay, cool. But weather can change over a couple of days. And now you're stuck out here, no trees, just out in the barren desert. It may not be clear to people that this is a desert, but I promise you, I have not Googled it, but I know that I am walking through a desert right now because there's so little water out here. I mean, this has been a very challenging section, navigating through fences, not through, but around fences, dealing with the remoteness, not knowing where water is for such a long period of time, having the flu, and having, there's a sense of comfort knowing, okay, if something goes wrong, I can bail to this nearest highway, or I can bail to that town. But out here, you are so on your own, because it's just you, wild horses, and antelope out here. So funny, just seeing this sign makes me feel like I'm back in civilization, even though I am something like 50 miles to the nearest highway. Just seeing even a sign is like some sense of familiarity. Just so funny that like I saw the sign and I smiled. This is what today looks like. Alright, this is supposed to be an electric water well. I was hoping there would be a wind block here so I could sit down and actually like eat, I guess what will be lunch, out of the wind. And in fact, I have this giant tire to block the wind for me, which is amazing. Though there's no water. There's no water in the tire, and that pump does not have an on-off switch that I could locate. So no water at this location, which is okay. I carried enough water to make it to the next location. And if the next location were to be out of water, I could bail out to that road over there. But I'm pretty sure the next location is gonna have water. So when you hike in the desert, sometimes people are like, what do you do if you run out of water? And it's like, well, you walk off to the nearest road. Just make sure you have enough water to get back to the last water. And there is no water behind me. So, well, there's a creek running like 15 miles back. But basically you carry enough water to make it to the next water source, and or you don't go any farther than you can go and turn back and go to the last water source, and connect those water sources to get your way out of harm's way, or know where your nearest road is, nearest town is. And so, all right, so this is kind of funny. I'm at the next water source, and I looked ahead on Far Out, my hiking app, and it looks like the next water source in 16 miles, according to the last comments, there are water caches that have been taken up, or at least they're not being replenished as of a month ago. And then the next water source is in 31 miles. And that water source, as of a month ago, the last report was that there is water there, but there's a dead calf, so a baby cow that was rotting there in the water source a month ago. And after that, there's no water all the way to Rollins, which is like another 15 miles past that. So I'm looking at completing a 31-mile water carry to the water source with the dead calf, and then I will just chemically treat that water, because going 45 miles without water is worse than drinking dead calf water. And so I wasn't expecting to have to do a water carry this long. But anyway, this is all the water that I'm going to be carrying. I think that's 1 liter. That's a second liter. I think that's like 3/4 of a liter. No, it's half a liter. So that's 2.5 liters. And I think I have probably right around 3/4 of a liter in there. So altogether, I'm carrying about 3 liters of water to go 30 miles, 31 miles. So. Okay, so this is the water source that was in 13 miles and they said would be disconnected. And it is disconnected. However, there are puddles of water here. So I'm going to chug the water that I have and reload the water that I have here. So I've had pretty clear skies for about the last couple of days. You can see pretty mean looking clouds. This may not be fun. It just started to rain. Snowing sideways.